In November 2019, I was awarded Alumni Achiever of the Year award in a room filled with people that have a long list of distinguished accomplishments, people that I greatly admire and have drawn a lot of inspiration from. I was very humbled and honored, but at the same time, I asked myself, why me? I did not graduate with a distinction, nor was I president of any of the university's clubs. Not because I wasn't a smart student, but because I'd spread myself too thin at the time. I studied at Sunderland's affiliate university in Kenya, Intel College. I was on a study loan that only covered my tuition fees. I just moved to the capital city of Nairobi from the warm and laid-back Mombasa city. Therefore, I had to earn an income to cover my living expenses. My family still lived in Mombasa, and my best bet was to work a full-time job and take up evening classes. Considering my limited experience and qualifications, that job barely earned me half my monthly expenses. Therefore, I had to start a small business informally where I would travel to markets over the weekends and buy fashion accessories and clothing in wholesale and come back to the city and sell that to my friends and colleagues. That did earn me an extra income that helped. With all this going on, I had very little time to give my studies my best shot, but I just knew I had to get a degree if I wanted to be anything in life. I mean, that's what we always hear people saying, right? Anyway, going back to the degree, as the congratulations kept pouring in, I realized my grades did not really come up once. Instead, people seemed to acknowledge the choices I made after I graduated. And I realized I earned that award because I did not stop learning. I did not stop growing. I did not stop transforming my life from what it was at that point to what it is today. And that had a lot to do with the choices I made along the way, which is what I want to talk about today. I was thrilled when Professor Derek offered me this extraordinary honor to be a speaker in Project Changemakers and share my journey with you as you're about to embark on your own life-changing journey. I graduated from University of Sunderland in 2013 with a bachelor's in business management, and several years later I'm finally doing my master's now. I'm doing a Master of Science in Innovation, Leadership and Management with University of York as an online student. Over the past few years, I've had some great opportunities to develop my entrepreneurial skills, including the Mandela Washington Fellowship, a program of the US Department of State, Go Global Africa, a program of UK government's Department of Culture, Media and Sport, eFounder's Fellowship, a program of Alibaba Business School and the United Nations, among others. I find that fellowships have provided me with a great opportunity to learn and grow my professional network and engage with like-minded people who are committed to making an impact with their action. The most life-changing one for me was the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is a program under President Obama's Young African Leaders Initiative, where I was sponsored by the US Department of State and selected among a pool of over 50,000 applicants. 10 years ago, I never imagined I'd be here proudly talking to you about all these accolades and achievements that I've gained along the way. I was born and raised in the multicultural city of Mombasa along the coast of Kenya, a city of great diversity and rich culture. It's one of those places where people are really laid back. You can imagine what that means for someone who wants to build Rome in one day. But even as a child, I noticed and questioned the inequality and marginalization that I perceived among the different ethnic groups in my region. It was a very common practice for young girls to get married as soon as they hit puberty, and that's still the case to date in some parts of the city. Growing up, I always dreamt of traveling the world, building my empire, leaving a legacy, but every dream I spoke about, no matter how small, maybe just about how I dreamt of traveling the world or how I loved eating out, People would always make a joke about how they needed to get me a rich husband to fulfill my fantasies. I constantly heard that a woman's place is in the kitchen. There was always an unconscious bias. I'm sure it came from a good place and they all felt like they were being fair. But it started making sense to me why women with big dreams and ambition always preferred to remain behind the scene. They feared being named the know-it-all, the feminist, too bossy, as if that's such a bad thing. We waste a lot of time worrying about how we are perceived. I mean, if I talk about my accomplishments, do I seem like I'm bragging? Personally, I was extremely lucky to have the family that I did. My mom has always been my greatest role model. She has grace, and it's such a powerful combination. Witnessing her hard work and resilience while demonstrating kindness and warmth, regardless of what she was going through, taught me that life is really what you make it. She taught me how to face my fears while staying positive and instilled in me a strong sense of responsibility. Hence my commitment to serving the community and changing the lives of vulnerable communities to date. She always told us, your current position is not your final destination. I come from a very humble background. My sister and I went through our entire primary and high school through scholarships, bursaries, study loans. Despite that, my mom always made sure that we spent a lot of time volunteering in children's homes, orphanages, underprivileged communities. She made us write down every day what we were grateful for rather than complain about what we didn't have. Growing up, I always watched her treat people with warmth, respect, and humility. She definitely taught me leadership and resilience. Right after high school, when I was barely 18, I started working a full-time entry-level job. This was before I moved to the capital city. I later moved to Nairobi to seek greener pastures and to pursue higher education. To be honest, that move had a lot to do with me escaping societal pressure to get married and be a housewife. I had dreams that I felt no one believed in as much as I did. I lived in hostels, worked several jobs, and volunteered in different programs. And for the first time, my whole life was my own responsibility. And I felt it was time for me to repay my family for making sure I got this far. After working several jobs, I started paying attention to the things that drive me. As much as I appreciate quickly going up the corporate ladder, I lacked a sense of fulfillment. I wanted to find my why. Your why is what sets you apart from everyone else. It's your purpose. It's what drives you. It's what inspires you to take action. I needed to find mine. I feel when you have a clear sense of purpose and you know your why, it not only helps you move towards your goal, but it also helps you attract the right people to rally around you. So when I joined university, I met my co-founders Wesley and Robert. The one thing that really put us together and still remains our background is that all three of us have very strong mothers. Very selfless, very hardworking, but with very limited access to financial services. This really motivated us to start and build a company that we believe will directly empower women to start and run sustainable businesses, improve their livelihoods, and directly empower the next generation, their children. We wanted to give them the opportunities our mothers didn't have so they can discover and pursue their passion. In 2014, we had a provocative speaker say that the brands that last are brands that touch lives. We were intrigued and asked ourselves how we could meaningfully touch lives in a sustainable and scalable approach. And this is what led the three of us to founding Cherahani Africa. Cherahani Africa is a social enterprise that leverages mobile technology to provide credit, financial education, and market information to women and adults and girls in rural and remote areas in Kenya. We have developed a robust proprietary digital infrastructure that enables data-driven decisioning, aggregates customer data, and disseminates financial literacy content to our customers through SMS and a bot persona. I'm passionate about inclusion of low-income households, especially women and girls. I'm driven by the belief that informal economies are invigorated when marginalized groups have convenient access to business knowledge, finances, and markets for their products. Later in 2019, I founded another social enterprise, Afrikapu, which combines technology and a frontline of field officers to educate and train women and youth micro-entrepreneurs on how to develop their products to meet international standards, and then Afrikapu offers them linkages to global markets through an e-commerce platform, market participation, global distribution partners, to enable them share their skills and creations with the rest of the world in a structured, profitable, and sustainable way. As a young African woman co-founder of 2 successful social enterprises serving rural women and youth, my passion really lies with the women and youth that I serve. I've built up considerable experience in social entrepreneurship, linking all my business strategies to technology and the sustainable development goals. Working on projects that are bigger than myself have delivered some of the biggest personal wins in my life. But this journey has certainly not come without its roadblocks and biases. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I always found myself in rooms filled with men, often men much older than I was. One day I managed to get my foot in the door to pitch to a private investment committee at their annual board meeting. And when the clock started ticking, the secretary came up to me and politely asked me, "You only have 10 minutes to pitch and take any questions. Could you please check how far your boss is?" So apparently our email communication had indicated that one of the company founders would be presenting, and for some reason they didn't think that could be me. So gender inequality still remains a major gap in today's world. Today I'm heading a team of over 20 experts serving over 18,000 women across Kenya. But I still face chauvinism and discrimination. And if I face this with my formal education, think about the women and girls in rural parts of Kenya, in rural parts of your own countries. Every country still has some work to do to close the gender gap. We are desensitized globally about the issue of gender inequality. I'm hopeful for the day when women will be recognized as competent. A day when we start to value each other regardless of our gender for our unique contributions that we bring to the table. I've had several people who have helped me develop myself personally and professionally, and the one thing I want to do is to make sure I help others in the same way. My goal is to be able to work with other global leaders who are pursuing poverty eradication with a focus on women and youth empowerment. Today, my work has been recognized globally, earning me multiple awards, including the most recent Meaningful Business 100, alongside leaders from reputable organizations like Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, Duolingo, H&M, among others. So being a woman is both hard and an opportunity. Nobody gives you power. You have to take it. And this applies to both men and women. You don't have to accept the status quo. You can create your own reality. Let's get real and break down these myths that are keeping many talented women and youth from shattering those glass ceilings. As a young person wanting to make a difference, the key thing is knowledge, both formal and informal. You have to learn. You've got to be confident to let your voice be heard. Some choices have minimal consequences, while others can be life-changing. Some choices will lead you to victory and jubilation, while others will lead you to defeat and disappointment. But you can't really know where a road is going to lead you unless you take it, right? There are no guarantees, and this is one of the most important things you need to realize about life. Just because someone else told you that a certain choice led them to their victory doesn't mean it's going to work the same way for you. A lot of us remain in a limbo because you may know what you want to do, but the fear of taking a step forward into the unknown outweighs the fear of remaining miserable because at least it's familiar. Take the risk, guys. I don't know about you, but I find it a lot easier accepting the consequences of a bad decision if I made that choice, as opposed to failing because someone else told me to do something a certain way and it didn't work out the way they told me it would. You must understand that you will end up losing count of how many battles you fought or tried to stop, but then you start accepting that losing a few battles can help you win a war, and you stop throwing yourself pity parties every time you fail. You simply get up, dust yourself off, and try again. The 3 lessons I've learned that have had the greatest impact in my life are: 1, you always have a choice, and it's your choices, not your chances, that are going to determine your destiny. The choices will either make you or break you. So you must always be ready to take responsibility of your actions and the consequences, whether positive or negative. 2, if you want to succeed, you must have unshakable optimism, but still hold on to your values. Don't be intimidated by what people think of you. Find people who will support you and guide you on how they navigated this journey called life. Then take the lessons and create your own path. Everyone's journey is different, so don't compare your path to someone else's. And 3, life has no guarantees. There are too many possible outcomes which you really can't control. The only thing you have power over is the decisions that you will make and how you will react to the different outcomes. Don't throw pity parties when things don't go your way, or when you feel like your friends have it easy compared to you. Sometimes what you feel didn't work out for you actually worked out for you. You will learn this in the long run. I sure did. If I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be you can do whatever you put your mind to it. So just trust the process and enjoy the journey. We cannot continue to doubt our potential. We need to think bigger and aim higher to better our lives. This can only be accomplished through self-empowerment and making smart decisions. As you step into the corporate world, my 5 pieces of advice to you are: 1, find your why. Focus on what drives you, and you will work with passion and excitement every day. 2, learn something new every day. Learn from people that you admire. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Look internally for job safety. Don't make silly assumptions that others will take charge of your career. You need to build skill sets, networks, and understanding of your field independently. 3, celebrate small victories. Each time you reach a goal, no matter how small, take some time to celebrate the work you've put into it. 4, you will only succeed and have a sense of fulfillment if you help others succeed as well. Learning to give instead of always taking is part of creating a world we all want to live in. The bigger dream is not just about money, but making an impact in the lives of people around you. And finally, grow your professional network. As Porter Gale put it in her book, your network is your net worth. The ability to build a network of authentic personal and professional relationships, not your financial capital, is the most important asset in your portfolio. I understand that for many of us, networking takes patience, takes getting out of your comfort zone and some level of discomfort. But once you have a hang of it, you're going to take your career to the next level. Personally, what has helped me develop strong relationships is always extending a hand. Before I start asking people for favors, I always ask, what can I do for you? And this applies to your social media networks as well. LinkedIn is such a great platform to connect with professional contacts relevant to your career aspirations. Keep your profile up to date, and when you're reaching out to a contact, be very clear about why you're contacting them and have a clear action point. During my graduation in 2013, I never imagined I would be where I am today. And as you step into the corporate world, you will learn that we cannot fully plan our future. Rather, we walk into it with our wishes carried by each step that we take. We're living in changing and turbulent times. Your skill set and experience may fall behind the times or reach a dead end before you know it. This is why having a growth mindset is so important, regardless of what stage you are in life. Always have a beginner's yet a winner's mindset. Learn every single day. Continue professional development beyond your degree. Learn transferable skills such as communication, leadership, innovation, time management. These are core competencies required in any field of work and will continue to be necessary today and tomorrow. Looking back, I cannot help but marvel at how much our ideas have transformed. Having started by supporting one woman with a single sewing machine in 2014, my vision is to continue empowering these women micro-entrepreneurs by building tools, products, services, and an ecosystem that they can effortlessly plug into to launch and run successful businesses. It couldn't be more rewarding for me to be working with women that every day remind me the dreams that they have, not only for themselves, but also for their children and for their entire communities. It reminds me what a powerful woman my mother is for making sure I had access to opportunities that she never did, and for teaching me that when I walk through that door of success, it's my responsibility to reach back and give other people the same chances that helped me succeed. I wish you all the best as you begin this incredible adventure. And as Mandy Hale put it, 10 years from now, make sure you can say that you chose your life. You didn't just settle for it.